Grab a calculator if you don't have a calculator yet. Not that you can't do these in your head, it's just quicker. Use a calculator. Okay, so I'm going to have you write these two problems down, but when you write this one, give yourself, I don't know, like 3 lines, okay, before you write this next one. Don't write it. Okay, so these objectives are, just one objective 64, is dividing, but it's not dividing like this. This is like to remind us how we divide. We're going to be dividing expressions that you've been factoring, okay? So you're going to have like a trinomial divided by a binomial, okay? So again, I know somebody wanted me to write these. I don't think, as long as you can remember, like, how do we divide, these are pretty simple, okay? We don't have to worry about trying to figure out, like, what numbers go into what, and have to give you something, and what the signs are going to be, okay? It's a pattern of how we divide, okay? It'll make sense once we do this. Okay, everybody got those two written down? Okay, so way back, I don't know, elementary maybe, learned how to divide, learned multiplication, maybe not memorize it, but learned how to do it, okay, and then divide. So we know that this is an improper fraction that we can divide. We can type it in our calculator and it goes in there evenly, okay? But this is what the long division looked like, okay? So the top number would go on the inside, okay? And then this goes on the outside. So we're just remembering how to do long division because that's where we're leading to doing this with actual exponents and variables and all that stuff. Okay, we good so far? Like how we write it? Okay, so when we did this, when we learned this, we always looked at the first number, right? And 5 can't go into 1, so then we went over to the next number, okay? 5 could go into 12, how many times? Twice. So we wrote this on the top, and then we said, well, it goes in there twice, which makes it what? And really what you did, even though you did that in your head, you go 2 times 5 gives me 10, right? But do we leave it as a positive 10? No, we did what? We switched it, right, to the opposite. So it was positive 10. Now I switch it to a negative 10. We subtract. So then we subtract, we bring this down, and then we bring down the next number, right? Okay, and then we did it again. Then we said this number divided by 5. So 25 divided by 5 goes in there 5 times. So we write it up here, and then really what we're doing is going 5 times 5 is 25, but I don't leave it as a positive 25. I switch it, right? And this is just a pattern that we learned from a long time ago, okay? And it means it goes in there evenly because it's 0, right? So there's no remainder because it goes in there evenly. Remember this? Okay, so we kind of do things without thinking about like what we did, because 2 times 5 is not a negative 10, it's a positive 10, but we switch the signs. Okay, so keep this in mind. Okay, so we're going to try again. Obviously, this one doesn't go in there evenly. Okay. Better steps with this one.
Yeah.
What?
That's the sort of thing when we think.
Dividing. That's how I would say. Okay, so the top number goes on the inside. This number goes on the outside. Okay. 5 goes into 12 twice, right? And we go 2 times 5 is 10, but we don't leave it as a positive 10. We switch the sign to a negative 10, and we subtract, which is 2, right? Okay, well, it can't go into there, so we bring the next one down, which is now 23. 5 can go into 23 4 times, okay? So really, we're going 4 times 5 is 20, but I don't leave it as a positive 20. I make it a negative 20 and subtract, and there's how much left over? 3. So 3 is my, not 0, so it's 24. That's like going into that. That's my remainder, so it's 24 remainder of 3. Okay, so because there's no more numbers to bring down. Okay, sometimes you've seen it written as, you put this one over there too, and it could be written as 3/5, meaning 5 can't go into 3 any further. Okay, and the only reason why I bring this up is because on the exercise, sometimes they don't leave it with just a 3. They'll put whatever was on the outside saying you can't divide that by 5 anymore. Okay, you don't need to do that. Okay, but just so you recognize it on the exercise.
Exercise or?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we good? Okay, remember the pattern. Here we go. Start drawing. Okay, number 1, write this down. So 4x squared plus 2x plus 5 over x plus 2. We did this. I did this with you last year as a review. Okay, everybody got those written down? No, not yet. Good. Okay, I'm just getting this down so I don't forget. Okay, so the top number, remember, goes on the inside of the divisor, just like what we've been doing. Okay, so on the inside of the divisor, okay, I have 4x squared plus 2x plus 5. On the outside, I have x plus 2. Okay, so a little bit different because now we have variables, but you're always going to think the first number divided by the first number, okay? So I'm only looking at the first number divided by the first number. So this is what it looks like. And I would write it off to the side unless you can do these in your head. So it's 4x squared divided by x. So if you were told to simplify that, what would that be? 4. Just 4x, right? So there's no number to divide here, but what do we do with the exponents? If I said simplify it, you had x squared over x. We actually do what with the exponents? Subtract, right? Because this is really a 1, and I move it up there and subtract it. Okay, so this becomes 4x. Good so far? Okay, so I divided it. So remember when you divide it, that number goes up to the top. Okay, so this is going to go here. Okay, if you remember, we had 2 as our number, right? And so we had 2 times 5, and then we wrote it down below. Okay, so I'm taking this number, the 4x, and I'm distributing it to what's on the outside. Okay, so this is really 4x times what's on the outside. You'll get faster though. So when I distribute 4x to x, that gives me 4x squared. If you're doing it right, they should always match up. So we're trying to work our way through and get rid of things, right? What's 4x times 2? 8x. Okay, if you remember what we did when we wrote 10, I didn't write it as a positive 10. I did what to the sign? Negative. I switched it. So you have to switch both of these. So switch, switch. Okay, we'll do this several times. This should always go away because we're working our way through factoring. Okay. I have a positive 2x and a negative 8x, which would be a negative. Okay. And then remember we bring down the next thing. Just like very good. Okay, now we're repeating the pattern that we just did. The first divided by the first. So it's negative 6x that's being divided by x. What happens to my x's? They go away, right? So it's just going to be a negative 6. Okay, so remember, whatever we get here is what we write on the top. So the negative 6 goes up here. Okay, just like we did with the last one, I'm going to take this negative 6 and distribute it to both of those. So negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Remember what I said? If you're doing it right, you should always match up that first one. Okay? A negative 6 times 2 is a negative 12. But remember when we had old school, we have to do what with those signs? Switch them. So opposite. Okay? Those go away. And then when I add those, I get 17. That is your remainder. Okay? Because it didn't go in, that's not going to be able to go into that. There's no more numbers to bring down. Okay, so your answer is 4x minus 6. Remainder is 17. It's not bad if you could just remember your pattern. What are my steps that we're going through? Right, Greg? Okay. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so number 2. Please stop me if you're like, whoa, whoa, wait, where'd you get that? So we're only going to do one more afterwards. Because they're all the same. So negative x to the third minus 2x plus 7, and we're dividing it by x plus 1. So that means that this is going to go on the inside, this is going to go on the outside. Okay, so on the inside, I'm going to write negative x to the third minus 2x plus 7, and the x plus 1 goes on the outside. Okay, first divided by first. So this looks like this. Negative x to the third is being divided by x. You get negative what?
Negative x squared.
Right. So you get x to the second. Okay, where do I write that? At the top. What do I do with it? Multiply it by what's on the outside, right? So I'm really distributing that to both of those. So this times this, remember, should batch up. It does, I'm doing it right. Okay. That times that is going to be a negative x to the second. Anybody notice anything with the way that it is lined up?
It goes by.
I have an x to the third, right? Is the next one matched up? No. Okay. So we need to rewrite this because we need place value. Okay. So hopefully you'll catch that before. I wanted to make sure that you're noticing this because remember when we're adding subtracting, you don't add and subtract like terms, right? X to the second is not the same as x. So when you go to write these, make sure they're in descending order. Okay. So the one that we had previous, I'll come back to the slide and we'll rewrite it because we haven't got very far. When we had this one, it was x to the second, then an x to the 1, and then down to none, right? But this one's not. It's an x to the third. We're missing the x to the second, okay? So we need to rewrite this, and then we can still jump to where we're at here, okay? So we're going to rewrite this in descending order. So it's a negative x to the third. We're missing the what? Okay, so we don't have an x to the second, but I need it for place value. Okay, so it's 0 x to the second. Okay, so I have the x to the third, x to the second, and I do have an x, so I'm going to write the rest of it. So I'll go through, when you get your notes, we'll point out the ones that we just start off writing the place value. Good?
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna want to. Because we can't solve it the way it's written. Okay, we already did the first step, right? We had a negative x to the second, because we did that part right, it was the first divided by the first. So it's a negative x to the third. When I distributed that to that, it gave me a negative x to the second. Now it matches up. Okay? So after I wrote those in, I need to do what with my signs? Flip them. So we get flip. Both. Okay, this cancels out. The whole goal. Okay, this is going to be a positive x to the second, and we bring the next one down. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, first by first. So x to the second. Again, some of you will do these in your head. You don't need to write them out. Okay, which is going to be what? Just x. So plus x. So up to the top. And I do what? Distribute. So this goes to this, which gives me x to the second, and matches up. X times 1 is just going to be 1x, but then I've got to flip my signs. Switch, switch. Okay, that goes away. I have a negative 2 and a negative 1, so that gives me a negative 3x. What do I get? Bring the next one down. And that would be the last one we're bringing down. So either it's going to go in there evenly or not, and we have a remainder. Okay, what's my next step? The first one divided by the first one. So it's a negative 3x divided by x, which is just what? Negative 3. Okay, so it comes up here. But what do we got to do with this?
Oh,
Distribute it back. So this times this is going to give me a negative 3x. That times that is going to give me a negative 3, but we've got to switch, switch. Okay, what is my remainder? 10. Some of you just remember the pattern. Write it out if you have to. Don't do it in your head. Okay, we good? Okay. Yeah, switching. And so the key thing is you would have had a -3 and a -3, which wouldn't cancel out. That'd give you a -6. The whole idea is to cancel out and keep moving through. So that's why we switched. Okay, last one. Is it written in order? No. So go ahead and write it. This is the way it is on the worksheet, but we'll write it properly before we actually get going. So 3x to the third minus 2 plus 6x by 9 plus 3x. Okay, so inside the divisor, my largest one is x to the third, right? So 3x to the third. Do I have an x to the second? No. So I just need to write, I don't have an x to the second. Okay, so that 0 is for the place value. Okay, do I have an x? Okay, 6x. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, and then down to where there isn't one, which would be the -2. Okay, what about on the outside? What do I write first? Right, descending order as well. So the other one, it was just the inside one that needed to be written. This one had to be rewritten. Okay, how do I start this? Right, first divided by the first. Okay, so 3x to the third is being divided by 3x. 3's go away, right? X squared. Goes up to the top. Right, multiply it out. Okay, so 3x to the third, and then x squared times 9, which is going to be 9x squared. But then I've got to switch. This goes away. This just comes down because that was 0. So -9x squared, and then bring down an x. Okay, sorry. What am I doing? What's the next step? Okay. What's my first step? We did a first step here. I want 20. No, no timesing yet. I pointed to this one and this one. So now we're done with that one. So now I'm going to, which one? Okay, somebody help her out.
You divide by 3x to 9x.
Okay, first divided by first. Okay, so the -9x squared is now my new first. Okay, that I'm dividing by the first. Which gives me a -3x. And so the other thing you should notice up here is this gets descending. Okay, if it's not, you subtract from. Okay. Okay, so now distribute. So that up to here gives me the same thing that was there. That's what's supposed to happen. So -3 times 9 is a -27x. But I've got to what? Switch your sign. Switch. These guys go away. So 27 and 6, 30. Okay, bring down the next one, which is the last one, right? Okay, Tori. What am I doing? What? Louder. Which ones?
3x.
Just say it.
Just say it.
Divide.
I can't hear you, and I'm only up here and I'm recording, so I need to hear you say it. I record every time I say it. Let's go.
Divide 3x by 33x.
Okay, so 33x divided by
Yeah.
3x. Good. Okay. Okay, 33 divided by 3 is going to be 11. And the x's go away, right? So the 11 goes up here. Okay. Now I do what?
You gotta just
Distribute.
Yeah.
So 11 times that, because remember we're trying to get them to match up. So 11 times 3 is 33x. And then 11 times 9, 99. All those will pop on the wall, and then we switch the sides.
Yeah.
Switch. Okay, there's no more to bring down. What is my remainder? 101.
Oh, yeah, because the 33 is canceled, yeah.
So you have a negative 99 and a negative 2, so you should get a negative 101.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I should be able to go there and then to like switch the signs.
So make sure you get the I'm not writing it on there, so just get the negative. Make sure it's negative. Yes, go ahead. Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
It's the same pattern, just a repeat, a repeat, a repeat. So just be careful of changing your signs and
Long dividing the. I would call that pause.
As long as they